All right, so in this demo, I'll show how to containerize a Node.js application. When you think containers, think like an isolated environment for running your application. So it's a little bit like a virtual machine, but more lightweight. So you'll get faster startup times and faster image build times. And it's typically for Linux applications. So any kind of like command line tool, and you can run in Linux. And this is great for things like servers, which are typically, you run in a Linux command line. So the application I'm going to containerize today is called isEven. It's just a Node.js application with Express. I'm just going to show how to run it locally. So if I go to my command line, I do npm install the node modules. And then it's going to look for an environment variable for the port. So I got to set that. It's going to be export port equals, I'll set it to 3000, and then npm start. Now it's running. So the server is listing on port 2000, so I'll enter that into my URL right here. And here we go, isEven. So it's literally just, you put in a number, you press even, and it gives you true or false. And it's actually making an API call to the backend. So if I go to my code, in index.js, it has one single API endpoint just to check if the input number is even. So pretty simple, but it's good. It's a good example for this. So next I'm going to work on containerizing the application. And to containerize it, I'm going to use the tool called Docker. Docker is a tool you can use to build container images. You can run the containers, and then you can also publish it to what's called a container registry, which is like a repository for containers. So to build the container, first we need something called a Docker file. So I'm going to write it out. What a Docker file is basically instructions for how to build the container image. So I copied it in right here. I'm going to go through it line by line. So the first one is from Node Alpine. This is your base container image. It's going to be pulled from another container registry. So if it's actually being pulled from the most popular public container registry called Docker Hub. It has all kinds of container images that people upload to it. And this one's one for Node.js. So it's Node Alpine. So it's based on Alpine Linux. And then it has Node.js installed on it also. So you don't have to install the middleware for you because the base image already has it. The next one is workdir user/app. This will just set the working directory to run all your commands in. This next one, copy package.json over. So this is going to copy package.json from my local computer to the containers this directory in the container. So it's going to copy over package.json. Then it's going to run npm install and install the node modules. Then the next one is copy //. This will copy the rest of the files over. So things like all the source files, your static files, whatnot. And then you can also set environment variables. So kind of like how I manually set the environment variable for the port being 3000, I can just do this right here in my Docker file. This last command is the command that's going to run when you actually start the image up. So it's going to run npm start, and that'll start up my Node.js application when I start running the image. One last thing I want to add in is a docker ignore file. So docker ignore. I'm just going to ignore node modules. So that'll make sure that it doesn't try and copy over node modules when it does this // because that's already done by this npm install thing right here. So to actually build the image, first I gotta start a Docker desktop. I'll start that up. Okay, so now Docker desktop is running. Now I can actually run my Docker commands to build my container image. So I'm gonna go to my command line, and I'm gonna, out of this one. I'm gonna say Docker build dot dash t is even. So isEven is going to be the name of the container to build, and dot means just to build on this current directory. So there we go. So there we go. I went through all the steps in my Docker file and built the image, and now I can actually run it. So I'll do Docker run. I'm going to say -p 3000 is even. So this will expose it on port 3000 on my local host, and I'll use the image is even. There we go. So now it's running. Now I can check it out in my browser. And here we go. It's running in a container. 2, 3 is not even, so that's looking good. So if I want to share my container image with other people, I'd have to push it to a container registry, and I'm going to push it to, so the one I'm going to be pushing it to is Docker Hub. So I'm going to have to do Docker login. I'll enter in my credentials. There we go, so now I'm logged in. Before I push it, I got to give it a new name, so I'm going to use the tag command. So Docker tag is even. I'm going to call it Seth Franklin / is even. And this will basically just give it a new name called Seth Franklin / is even. And I need this to push to Docker Hub. So finally to push it, it will be Docker image push Seth Franklin / is even. And now it's pushing up to Docker Hub. Okay, now it's pushed. Let me check it out on Docker Hub. If I refresh, here it is, Seth Franklin / is even. So this is a public registry, so anyone can pull from it. But you can also stand up your own private registry if you want to store more sensitive code or your proprietary software. So yeah, so now it's on a registry. You could have like a server running Docker pull and start running it, or you could also have a Kubernetes cluster pull from here. So that's about it for this demo.